He will probably not be able to say anything for a few moments, but
We will do our best and edit things out, or give up and try later, depending on Discord willing. We will do what we can.
Right.
Yes.
Discord's doing a thing, apparently. So.
All hail Discord, our great and terrible leader.
Right.
hail Eris!
May-
All hail Discordia!
May it not go down in a dumpster fire of doom like every previous siloed media. Wait.
Yeah.
Oh no. Oh no. And I have no buffer left, so this will probably be current when it goes live.
Okay. Yeah.
Yay! Hello and welcome to Cause and Effect. This is a Homebrew Dungeons and Dragons campaign. Tonight's episode is episode 26, KOSHA Compliant. My name is Crash. I will be your DM for the evening. I'm joined by a bunch of awesome people, including Beth, Ellie, Eo, and... Okay, I had
Jen.
to stop for a moment because, yes, I know
I
Jen,
changed my username.
but Jen's
yeah.
username is just O ...
What? No, it's not.
That's all it's
Unkebab.
showing on my end.
Seriously?
Unkebab.
Yeah.
I see the whole thing.
For some reason, I do not, and I do not know why.
I don't know, but it's there.
Because
I
Uncle
changed
Mav
it.
is shorter than most of your display names. So it's not because it got truncated for being too long.
Yeah, it's just, I don't know. You remember that
weird.
character I played that was a half orc?
Oh, yeah.
Uh-huh.
Well, there is a way to sum this up. All hail Discord, our great and terrible leader.
Hail,
Everything is
hail.
fine. This is fine. Ignore the fire everywhere. Speaking of which, what happened last time?
Monty! Monty! Yeah, sheep racing.
There was sheep racing. There was some back and
I
forth.
got to be an announcer.
You got to be an announcer and see the whole game take place from an aerial view. Your airspace, I must reiterate, in case it was not clear, was at no point threatened by a flying sheep. When I said the sheep goes up, that meant north on the map, not up. Also, one of them went up the bleachers, which did increase its altitude. It did do that, but at no point did it enter airspace.
And Hobby went
Well,
off to...
in this race, that was a concern.
Indeed. Hobby went after one of the bleachers. Sheep? What sheep?
I suplexed a sheep.
You did.
Yes,
The biggest sheep.
the sheep with
It was-
the functional stats of a T-Rex.
She suplexed a sheep through teleporting.
Into its mouth.
It was the Rhine burp maneuver.
I was just thinking of that.
Yes.
Yeah.
It was the Zeely Rhine burp maneuver because, I mean, Zeely's the one who teleports into things' mouths.
There is a history
Well,
of that.
I mean, once,
Okay,
but it was
so-
kind of...
There is more than one retired character that could in fact sue for trademark infringement.
I mean, considering it was a kobold sheep race, that might actually be a recognized maneuver.
Okay. Mhm.
All the maneuvers are currently written in crayon
So Meep was
By-
in there. Okay.
by a particularly verbose kobold by the name of Eddie Lizard.
Oh,
of
well,
course. They are
Oh.
wonderful.
Because they are maneuvers.
At least they are not doing cow racing. Then they would be maneuvers.
We are already off the rails, people. We really are.
Much
What
like the
ra-
sheep. Much like the
What
sheep.
rails? We are recapping an episode that most of the time was spent watching sheep race,
Yeah.
ignoring their jockeys.
Mhm.
Oh, by the
Yeah.
way, the sheep had jockeys.
Of course they did.
And none of them went in the right direction. There was a winner to the race only because Chadrick used his whip to grab a jockey off of the giant sheep, put that jockey on his shoulders, and then run past the finish line.
All in all, a very successful race.
Somebody won in less than 20 minutes of in-game time. It was the most successful sheep race in the history of the sport.
I feel that it might be a hilarious option for them to perhaps hire cheap adventurers and dress them up in fleece and glue and then ride them around the track. That might actually be exciting.
They're not going to do that to fellow kobolds.
No, I said adventurers.
No.
They have to hire them. Human ones.
What's this word hire of which you speak? That costs money, doesn't it? Chadwick was willing to do it for free, and it was funny.
I mean, free, you could hire them with fleece and, maybe a meal if they're down and out.
Mutton chops.
Mm-hmm.
Hi.
Exactly.
Well, after the race, they went back to the tavern. Everyone went back to the tavern. And Tex had suggestions for how to make the race be more competitive and actually reach a conclusion, which the kobolds are just a little bit dubious of because it involves breeding smarter sheep. And you might think, oh, the sheep might actually be intelligent enough to pay attention to their jockey or understand they need to follow the lines on the track. Yes, this is something that could work well. But did we mention that the sheep are primarily there because they are bred for food?
Oh.
Maybe don't make a smarter sheep. Sheep
Oh
being
my.
dumb is a desired mechanic.
Okay.
Anyway, at the end of the session, the door was kicked in the wrong way, but that's the fault of whoever installed the hinges as far as Monty's concerned.
Monty.
And Monty came in, demanded a drink that was on fire, and we are going to cut to Monty sitting there sipping his flaming beverage. It came out last week. We're all happy for it. Monty has not put it out. Monty is very supportive.
Well, I think this seems like a reasonable decision, but then again, I'm resistant to fire damage, so I probably shouldn't be consulted.
Monty
He's
appears to be
He's
immune
also
to fire
resistant
damage.
to fire damage. Yes, but Cappell doesn't know that.
Well,
Hobbyist-
Monty has taken
Hmm.
several sips, and there is a little bit of soot on his nose, but otherwise he appears unharmed. His floppy hat that he's wearing also appears to have gathered a bit more soot than it had before. There's soot in other parts of it, so this is apparently a thing that he's done before, but also does not appear to be burning, which implies some kind of magical property. While he's sipping this beverage, in front of him is a cocktail umbrella, a tiny broken ladder, a bag that has broken mirror bits in it, and another sample of that root that if a sheep eats it, it goes
That's
and
for.
seeks out and destroys alcohol. And he's just looking at that and sipping the drink
I mean,
while you're
that's
gathered around.
really valid, honestly.
I mean, most of these are like, I don't want to use the word childish, but it's a cocktail umbrella. It's I understand the reasoning. I understand the superstition, but like these three things, they're harmless. I wouldn't even lecture a younger kobold for trying something like this. This, he picks up the root. This could have killed someone.
Uh-huh. And it did trash the bar. Point at the hole.
It's okay, we restocked.
It does seem to have been a dangerous stunt.
It's just, how do I put this? It's low-level nonsense, low-level nonsense, low-level nonsense, ancient red dragon. That's the level of severity going on with these sabotage attempts, practical jokes, whatever it is.
Sabotage, I think.
To what end? Stop the races entirely?
Well, the others are probably just trying to win.
By the way, as soon as Monty says stop the races entirely, Miney was cleaning a glass, as a bartender is known to do.
Crash!
I'm not
No,
saying
sorry.
the glass was actually getting cleaned,
Mhm.
because soap and water aren't always used by kobolds when cleaning things. Sometimes it's just, here's this rag, let's use it to apply dirt to the glass.
Yeah.
But you are correct. I am here as the GM. But no. Also, there is a crash sound as the glass is dropped and shatters on the floor. And then I also interrupted you, Beth. What was...
No,
Hobby
that's
gonna say?
about Hobby's. Hobby forgets. Obviously, the shattering glass made her, jump 3 feet like a cat who has been startled.
I'm not planning on stopping the races. Oh, good. We have a mortgage? You got this place for free. It's a reverse mortgage. Monty just blinks at them.
I'm sorry, the egg machine just attacked me.
You have a machine that makes eggs?
I have
think those are
we have a
typically
machine
called
that
chickens.
cooks eggs,
Oh, okay.
and it's shaped like an egg.
Oh my.
Suddenly, Mo runs out of the kitchen and says, "The egg machine just attacked me!"
That pretty valid. Pretty valid.
We don't have an egg machine. Yes, we do. It's the one with all the feathers.
Uh-huh.
You mean a chicken?
They do
The
attack.
chicken attacked you. No, it's a kobold inventor made it. So, it's a chicken.
The cyborg chicken.
I mean, it's in a cage.
Mech looks over at the conversation they're having, just shaking her head like, I do not understand these kobolds.
No one understands these kobolds.
If you don't understand kobolds, it means you're likely paying attention to the kobolds.
Yep.
So, you think this was likely a deliberate harsh escalation in severity rather than I have to raise the point of someone simply not considering the consequences of their actions whatsoever.
I mean, that's 90% of what I encounter on a daily basis, yes. And I'm sometimes referring to family when I say that. Also, I feel compelled to mention, before somebody tries to smite me, that also includes me. Monty says that looking straight up in the air. None of you know who he's talking to. Then he
Hobby
back
looks
down.
up. Hobby looks up. Hobby stares into a corner.
You see a ceiling.
Pavel also looks up.
Hobby will just continue to stare at things because, I mean, she's contractually obliged to. She's a giant cat. She'll just sort of stare at the ceiling for a little while longer.
We will not comment on whether or not Zeely was scrying at this moment, but Monty might be assuming that Zeely was scrying at this moment.
I'm pretty sure Zeely can't scry and doesn't know how.
What Monty doesn't know, he might still act as if it's possible.
Yeah, I'm just... I'm not complaining about the assumption. I just think it's funnier because...
Yes,
You never know
yes,
what
so
Zeely's...
do I. So do
You
I.
never know when Zeely's going to use her wish, though.
EO? Oh, you're right.
Yeah.
You're right. Once per day, Zeely can cast any spell 8th level or lower.
Nevertheless, with Zeely's Arcana, she is still the magical equivalent of the person who keeps trying to call her daughter to tell her how to work the crystal ball.
It keeps flashing 12. Why does it keep flashing 12? Imagine, if you will, Zeely commenting on Monty trying real hard to be a good person, learning from past mistakes, but sometimes needing someone to keep an eye on them, and Daldane's just like, well, I've got this crystal ball that I found. Which is how Monty is assuming a conversation took place. I'm not saying that's canon, that it actually took place. I'm saying it's canon that Monty thinks it may have. With that said, with all that said, Monty's just like, look, it just seems a little weird that we've got, like, childish games and then Abominable Snowman. They don't...
Yeah.
I mean, it
although
seems
some
to...
children are very cruel.
Yeah, it might have... I mean, it was targeted at the biggest sheep. You have seen the biggest sheep, right?
Oh, yeah.
Good.
It's the only one that doesn't cower in fear when I walk in.
Right, that one. It's pretty fun to ride, too. Anyway...
It tried to eat my head.
It tried to eat... pointed at Chadrick. It tried to eat Chadrick's head, too. And then Tex swapped. So it was eating Tex's head. And then Tex managed to throw it on its back.
Monty looks over at Tex. You willingly put your head inside a sheep the size of a Tyrannosaurus Rex.
Yes.
Before or after you suplexed it? I did hear about the suplexing.
Before, it was necessary to get into position.
So you suplexed it while it was eating your head.
I am quite strong.
I like you. Monty takes another sip of his beverage, which, by the way, is still on fire and has been for the entire time. Normal alcoholic beverages do not burn that long.
Hobby would investigate this, being a feline and curious, but also fire and fur do not get along very well, and the smell is kind of awful.
I mean, if you have an ethanol stove, which many backpackers use, you can get the flame to burn for that long. but it tends to be a more invisible flame because it's very, very efficient. This is clearly visibly on fire.
Obviously, Monty is refreshing it with a little puff of fire every time. Not that Hobby can tell.
Not that Monty will admit to.
Uh-huh. Either one.
What's that? A distraction of some kind?
He's as bad as Uncle Eero giving himself away by heating up the tea.
Just need to wait for my breath weapon to recharge. I mean, hi. I am unclear of whether or not Millie actually knows that Monty is a dragon. I forget if they got that reveal.
I don't know.
Because they weren't part of the game where that reveal happened.
Right.
The rest of us just operated on the assumption that, yes, we all know. Well, the characters don't, but still.
Mm-hmm.
Also, case in point, the scene where Monty polymorphed himself into a moth to avoid someone cornering him and getting him to take command of the moon after the revolution. When dragons shapeshift, they keep all of their stats. So Monty the moth bouncing into walls and the occasional flame was done intentionally for the aesthetic.
I feel like a Monty Moth would probably be perfectly happy in a flame because, yay, fire! Look at all this fun fire.
Well, he definitely didn't flinch, which helped him to sell it more.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it looks like I'm going to have to do a thing.
What the
I didn't want to do this.
Name?
I really didn't want to have to do this, but it looks like I'm going to have to be here on an official capacity. And Monty pulls out a badge and pins it to the front of his shirt. And
what does the badge look like?
It has a logo that says KOSHA with a period after each letter. And underneath, it says Probationary Inspector 3rd Class.
That like a new class or something?
It's, I don't do this all the time, and I'm working my way up through the ranks. I was offered a promotion based on prior merits, but that sounded too much like nepotism because my daughter's technically in charge of KOSHA. So, look, all I'm saying is there's a lot of fires that happen around me. They're not all my fault, but it doesn't look good to promote a KOSHA inspector after everything burns down.
That is quite a story.
Uh-huh. Makes sense.
You thought it was going to say fire inspector. Well, I'll admit that's a lot of what Monty has inspected. Yep, this fire is very hot.
I was about to say exactly. He inspected the fire, and it is up to standards of fire.
Look, this is a great fire. I rate it an 8.5 out of 10. However, I cannot help but notice that's not a bonfire that you built. That was a greasy rag museum. Like this sign that I was able to salvage from the flames says Greasy Rag Museum. I have many questions, and I feel like if you answered them, I would just have more questions. I cannot help but notice that the Greasy Rag Museum was built next to the building where people manufacture flint and steel kits.
Seems like a problem. Seems like just a tad unwise.
And next to that is where the fireworks factory was planned to be built. Oh, you did build it. Well, why is it just the crater where the foundation will be? Oh.
Mm-hmm.
Oh.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Well, I guess I'll be 3rd class now. Goodbye, 2nd class rank. Anyway, so imagine, if you will, that whole scenario happens.
Wow.
And then we cut back to Monty from his flashback. Just like slightly polishing the KOSHA badge just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Alrighty.
It's shiny.
It's
Hobby
shiny now. It gleams in the torchlight. Wait,
Hobby is fascinating.
There's no torches in here. Those are lamps.
It's gleaming in the light of the drink that he's got.
Yes, and some type of internal flame. Let's not wonder about that. It's best to not wonder about that.
Obviously, Monty has a class that subclasses into something that
Flammable.
is burny. Yeah, flammable.
Yeah.
100% arcane trickster rogue.
Obviously, there are fire spells involved. QED.
Monty will tell you that he has fire spells.
Mhm.
Out of character, Monty does not have any fire spells.
He doesn't need the one duplicate.
He fakes them all.
All the fire ones, anyway.
I cast fireball, breath weapon.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
I cast punch, dragon claw attack.
I wonder what
Anyway.
Docs would think of that, you know? Just out of curiosity. Anyway,
Mage
go ahead.
hand is a tail swipe. Well, Gox is in on the secret.
Yeah,
Yes.
yeah. But I mean, when he first found out, he'd be like, oh. You know?
When Gox first found out, it's because Monty turned into an ancient red dragon and punched a Tarask in the face.
Uh-huh. And then he was having to hold the jaws open and go spit, spit, because it had one of the others in its mouth.
And
I
he
have to go back
knew
and listen to
what
the episode. I don't
Zelie
think
would
that happened.
do.
And he knew what Zelie would do.
Right. Yeah, that's true.
I mean, he wasn't wrong.
Welcome
Drop
to
it,
nostalgia, the episode.
Yeah.
That's every
sorry.
episode.
Sorry.
It often is.
No, I am not upset. I instigated half of it. What are you talking about? Maybe more than
Besides,
half of it.
I just love the idea of an ancient red dragon with claws wrapped around the maw of a Tarask, trying to pry them open, going spit, spit it, drop it,
What's in your mouth? What's in your mouth?
drop it, spit it out.
There it is. It's a piece of. It's plastic. Why were you eating plastic?
Oh God!
Crying, it must just like the feel of it in their mouth. It goes crinkle, crinkle, crinkle all the time. I am sick of this.
Have to pick up all the plastic. Anyway. Fortunately, there's no plastic. Hobby might like it.
There is plastic, but only on the island of Flotsam. So you might encounter it when you go back to base.
Hobby comes from a future. This probably means that she has, in fact, had her emotional support plastic thing that she licked. Then Cavill had to take it away from her to keep her from eating it when she was little.
You know what? I'm happy with that being canon.
Sorry, what did I just?
You took away my emotional support crinkly plastic just because I was eating it.
It was a
When we were
plastic
little.
bag that Hobby pulled out of the trash.
Hobby.
It was when they were little.
Hobby, you would have had to go to the doctor.
Not if I threw it up again.
Ugh. You don't get to talk about me chewing on candles.
You weren't sharing.
You're not fire resistant.
So give me the ones that aren't lit.
My assumption is this conversation is happening
It's
in
happening.
character in front of Monty. And
I think
so, point of order, one of the ways to become fire resistant is to encounter more fire. Just saying, if you're denying your sibling that opportunity.
They don't like how my fur smells when it encounters fire.
Actually, that's not how we get fire resistance. It's not? That explains a few of the demerits. Oh well, look, I'm gonna go around the area and investigate a few things. Eni runs out of the room immediately going, "Put up the railings! Put up the railings!"
oh my.
Supposed to be railings somewhere?
Yes, all around the racetrack, there were supposed to be railings to keep people from wandering onto the track and keep sheep from wandering off the track. But they always got removed.
Mm-hmm.
And the canon statement I made about it is, anytime Zelie was known to be coming down, they all got put back up. And if they couldn't put them up fast enough because maybe Zelie didn't announce her visit, they would just say they got burned. And Zelie tended to understand that, sometimes things just catch on fire. I mean, mostly around her dad
Yeah.
and
But I mean,
her.
yeah.
And her child? Maybe?
Well,
That's less fire and more explodey.
That's true.
Chroma, there are
The
accidents.
explosions lead to fire.
There you
Yeah.
go.
Chroma's accidents are learning opportunities.
Uh-huh.
And for them to be true learning opportunities, they're not always about fire.
Ah, I see.
But I have accidentally learned the combusting point of a lot of materials.
I do appreciate that you reattached my arm.
Anyway, sorry.
Don't be. This is gold. I mean, no one who's listening to this as their first episode is going to know what the heck is going on.
Well, they should go back and listen to the other ones then, you know? This is
Yeah,
like the
so everyone needs to
nostalgia
go back.
episode.
Start with Circulus episode 1. I think that came out in 2017.
I think so, yeah.
Work your way ahead slowly.
Just think of all the, and by the time that they get there, you'll have built up a nice backlog of stuff to put on the podcast again. This is where we're being clever, Crash. We're being clever. They won't even notice that there was a gap.
Monty finishes his drink. This is great. One for the road. You sure? You okay to drive? What do you mean drive?
Drive the sheep around?
No, I'm just going to walk. I'm okay to walk. Anyway, most of the alcohol burns off. I just drink it for the taste.
But there's
How
no
does
catnip.
most of the alcohol drink off? This is diluted Gear Grinder special. You dilute it? Sacrilege! We don't want the bar to explode.
You shouldn't be inspecting the bar when it's exploding.
I mean, it's easier to see all the internal components.
Briefly.
You are all, by the way, getting a much better picture of why Monty is probationary third class.
Yeah.
Yep.
I mean, if you're trying to inspect a bank vault where you need to get the things out, then yes, having it go make the internals become the externals is certainly one way to do it, although it's a bit hard on what's inside there, so you don't really want to do that very often. And it's not like I've done that any time in recent past because it really hasn't been necessary.
My understanding is last time you did that was actually many, many billions of years in the future.
Exactly.
So technically, you've never done it.
Right.
Yeah.
And we cannot be blamed or convicted for things that we have not yet done.
Careful, there's some people who still will.
And those are the ones that we avoid.
Well said. Monty is given a to-go cup that is on fire.
Hobby gives it a careful wide berth.
All right, well, thank you. I'm going to head out and inspect things. Wish me luck.
Good luck.
Eka's just looking around the room and says, biologicals are confusing.
Fair.
Well, now what do we do?
We should probably inspect things too, but I mean, was that just on the track for any of the sheep, or did one of the other jockeys drop it on the way while, to get the Sheeposaurus Rex?
It's
I'm
kind
sure
of
I
a
have no
toss-up
idea.
on that one. The sheep usually never follow the lines. So if it was placed right in front of Rexy, it's possible that would make it be least likely that Rexy would be the one to eat it.
So it could have been any of them.
Where do those weeds originate?
This valley. They haven't been really seen growing anywhere else except for some transplants that some people took for research purposes.
Where do they grow in the valley?
All over the place. We had to scour the area around where we keep the sheep to make sure they were all gone. It's worse than poison ivy. Poison ivy, you just get a rash. This stuff, a sheep tries to maul you if you had a good time.
Again,
Are you
biologics are confusing.
Are you saying that some Puritan wizard created this?
What?
Or
Everything
druid.
that's weird, you just assume that a wizard did it? Next, you're going to
Huh?
be telling me that's the origin of owlbears.
No, I'm pretty sure that the origin of owlbears is there's a song about it, about a bear and a owl went to sea in a pea green boat
I
or something.
do not want to hear the rest of the story.
I do not know of this story. No one teaches.
I mean, a
Robots,
bar is the
these
right
things.
place to tell it, or rather sing it.
Perhaps.
I'm really not sure that that's a story we can tell on a stream like this.
Wow. Twoo, wow.
Meanie rings out cloth that they were using to wipe the bar.
I mean, it's not like we have to describe where the eggs come from.
Please stop. I'm having flashbacks to my childhood.
Oh.
Did they give you a teddy bear?
How would they get it through the eggshell?
Did they give you to a teddy bear?
If they did, they got me back before I hatched.
Again, confusing.
Money smacks Meanie upside the head with another rag and says, "You do not remember when you were a baby." "Sure I do." "I'm pretty sure you don't. We're from the same batch, and I don't remember."
Does an egg count as a baby? How big an egg?
That's a philosophical question that there's a lot of division about.
Hobby is making little gestures in front of herself that are sort of egg proportioned and frowning at the empty space between her hands.
My cat just hit the push to talk button.
Obviously, the cat wants to play.
He does want my attention. I've been out of the apartment for over 24 hours, so he missed me.
You gotta pet the kitty, Crash. Pet the kitty. We should
I
probably.
Not enough.
You know what we should do? Of course not. There's never enough until he decides he's done and he goes away.
No, when he decides he's done, he bites me.
And then goes away, presumably.
No, he just bites me.
Oh, all right, that's fair.
And then demands more.
My bird does the same thing. Yep.
I can't say no to him. He's wearing a bow tie.
Oh,
Oh,
adorable.
I know what we should do.
Okay. What?
First of all, we should not let anyone. Here, come around, come over this way, so that we are away from the poor kobolds who probably don't want to hear this.
All right.
Okay, sure. What's this all about?
Think we should consider searching the personal effects of the other jockeys to see if anyone dropped that on their way around, to see if there's stuff if there's any of the weed, like in bags or something in their pockets or whatever.
I'm not sure they'd plan ahead that far, but we can try.
I'm not sure they'd plan ahead far enough to dispose of it.
One of them has a gold ring with ancient script written on the inside of it.
Whatever. Jewelry.
Wait, what?
Crash is being silly.
Okay.
Crash is discussing kobolds with the One Ring.
Oh, got it.
This definitely would not backfire in any way, shape, or form.
Mm-hmm.
I think we had that plot.
Maybe.
You did have a volcano that you were told to throw some magical items into. The red dragon said, "Can you not?"
I remember that. Yeah.
Then there was some eye poking.
Uh-huh.
And if anyone wants to know more about that, check the back.
A little yellow text box appears with an asterisk that says, "Check episode 83, true believers." Excelsior! Actually, that would have been, not cause and effect. Hit and Abyss.
Oh.
That was
might
Hit
have
and
been
Abyss.
Yep.
Because it was Mazir who ended up making a deal with the Red Dragon. Well, helped make the deal. Bryn helped.
Mm-hmm.
Bryn terrifies me more than most of the PCs, by the way.
Bryn can be ruthless.
Bryn is Doctor Who. Doesn't need any weapons. Convinces other people to do things. Bryn is clever. Would that make Seelan the master?
Only if there was a mentorship going on there. I mean, from between the master and the doctor.
Seelan has the ego to be the master.
Well, yeah.
Never mind. All right,
the nostalgia
so
episode, isn't it?
that is every episode at this point.
That's probably true.
We are
We do.
75% flashbacks to other sessions and or campaigns by volume.
Yeah.
This has not changed.
Mm-hmm.
Details.
Sometimes the percentage is higher. Minimum 75%, guaranteed by factory.
Okay.
But for the rest of it, we should probably try to figure out where the other jockeys might have been, excuse me, had to sneeze, might have been if there's any leftover evidence That's what we need to find. Leftover evidence.
Hmm.
So we gotta figure out where the other jockeys live.
That sounds like a great idea. Monty's
Hubby.
standing right next to all of you.
Hubby jumps like
Oh,
4 feet in the air. Yeah.
Where you're
Possibly
standing
clinks-
right now, you are possibly hanging from the ceiling.
Yes.
Somehow, this does not assert dominance.
oh no. Oh.
She will work on asserting dominance after she's got her tail calmed down from being like
Oh
the
yeah,
size
all
of
the
her
fur
leg.
is on end. All
Yeah.
the fur is on end. You have increased your volume by a factor of 1.
Poof.
I'm a rogue. You know that, right? Sneaky.
Me too now.
But you're sneaking other places.
I was. I found out that all the railings have been hastily installed to meet KOSHA compliance.
Uh-huh. Well, the railings aren't really the problem. We gotta figure out who dropped the stuff on the track. I mean, it might have not been intended for the Sheeposaurus.
I believe it's called an Ovisaries rex,
Yeah, that.
or Rexy for short.
Right.
That's
It might
easier.
not it might not have been intended for Rexy. Tex, are you all right? Are you hungry? Your stomach's rumbling.
I'm pretty sure that wasn't me.
No. I had a motorcycle go by. That might have been what it was.
Yes,
Oh,
probably.
it was Mac.
Oh, next stomach rumbling.
That's interesting since I do not have a stomach.
Oh well.
Nevertheless, you already have inspiration, so I cannot grant it. Because while you were deciding who had the motorcycle drive by, I was opening Hobby's character sheet to check who had inspiration.
Oh, okay.
Halo.
So I wanted to lead with the good news. The good news was, hey, we don't have to complain about the railings, which may or may not have already been uninstalled now that I've inspected them.
Hmm.
It's a open secret. We don't really care about that, but we act like we do. I mean, we definitely care about it. I personally don't, but, whatever. I'm told it's survival
KOSHA
bias,
cares.
but never mind. Anyway, the bad news is, if you want to inspect the belongings of the various teams, you're gonna have a hard time.
They're
They are-
underground.
They all live underground, where you are currently not welcome. Unless any of you is really good at disguising yourself as a kobold. And Monty looks over at Tex. Maybe if we got you a good hat.
And a trench coat.
Then
Tex
we
could
could
be
say you
3
are
tri-
5 kobolds in a trench coat.
However,
Minimum
we
5.
do have a kobold around.
Somewhere.
Oh, A. Yes. A is
No, you-
currently,
No. We don't need to involve A. A is still feeling poorly. Delicate.
that was a point I was going to make. What makes you think that I'm the kobold involved?
What?
I think that you could go look at things.
I mean, certainly I could, but
And also,
I-
you're a rogue. You could look at things sneakily.
That is an interesting
I'd-
point.
yes, but I personally prefer to use my roguish talents to mess with people.
Ah,
So obviously, what you do is you mess with people by looking through their stuff. And
My assumption, by the way, is this entire conversation is happening while Hobby is still stuck to the ceiling.
yes,
probably. Yeah. Hasn't come down yet.
The fur is starting to relax, but the claws
but
are
she's
in
still
deep.
the claws are in deep, but she's just sort of hanging there and stretched out with the claws hanging on.
This may continue until Eeny, Meeny, Miny, or Mo comes over with a broom. Put down! Get down!
No, I'm asserting dominance over the ceiling.
I think you're
One
asserting
of them-
dominance right under the ceiling.
One of them
enough.
holds up a little plush mouse with a bell tied to its tail and shakes it a little bit.
Hobby will consider this
This is not canon. They do not
No.
do this.
yet.
Yet.
But I'm just saying, you can mess with people by you look through their stuff, you see if they have what you're looking for, and if they don't, then you leave them something confusing in their stuff, like a listening device.
Why would I have a listening device?
I mean, used to will sell them like at corner stores and stuff, as they.
Oh, my
They have-
granddaughter has made listening devices. I know what they are. Why would I have one?
Your granddaughter gave you some?
No.
Oh.
She specifically does not give me any because her mother told her not to after the incident.
I suppose you'd have to leave something else.
Technically, they weren't listening devices that caused the incident. That was something else unrelated that I don't want to get into right now.
Okay, I won't ask.
But just for the record, it was not my fault.
Of course not.
They were like that when they were given to me.
Mm-hmm.
The structural supports were damaged when I got there.
Mm-hmm. That's why KOSHA, right?
That's why 3rd class, yes.
Are you intending to get to a higher class of this KOSHA?
Well, higher or lower depends on how you're counting.
I do not understand.
More spell slots.
A higher number is a lower class.
I see.
It's like
class. Aperture f-stops.
It's like THACO.
Do not speak that name in this place. That is not canon. Monty does not have his eyes glow red and burn with hatred when you say that. That is a completely out of context.
Oh, yeah.
But I am so tempted to have it be in character. That would be a roll for initiative event.
Oh, I bet it would be. Mm-hmm.
This is when you leave the location by clawing your way across the ceiling to the door.
The ceiling which is on fire.
Oh, no.
Details.
I remember not minding THACO. I remember thinking THACO wasn't that bad.
Mm-hmm.
But I didn't have a lot of choices. So it's not that bad. There are no other options.
Right, right.
Like, I used to think platformer video games were fun because I didn't know of many other genres besides platformer games. I have always historically been very bad at platformers.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. So this is fun? What do you mean there's other games?
Oh, no.
Anyway. Look, I understand what you're trying to do. I understand your heart's in the right place. That's why we're having this conversation. However, your great idea of snooping through other people's belongings when you're technically foreigners, not citizens of this locale,
Right.
is ill-advised, and trying to get someone else to do that for you
Hobby
is a very bad idea.
Hobby will attempt to look very cute. Not necessarily in a persuasive way, just in a very cute way.
I worry that, by the way, that look doesn't work when my granddaughter does it. It's not going to work on me from when you do it.
Purr.
That only works on mammals.
Oh.
For the record, it does not only work on mammals. There are many kobolds who have pet cats. But Monty's using this line anyway.
Mm-hmm.
I worry that you might attempt to sucker in another kobold who is more easily persuaded, and things will go bad very quickly.
No, I wouldn't ask A to do anything, or any of the others.
And I won't do it. Because while my own morals are, shall we say, flexible in many areas, I will not do anything that impinges on the reputation of my family. Unexplained fires notwithstanding.
Mm-hmm.
The bird agrees.
Yes. There's one in that tree over there. She's been watching us the whole time.
There was a kobold that was at the bar with the staff of bird songs.
Oh.
Meepo had one. It became a very popular thing for a while. You can still see half a dozen of them per day.
Seems plausible.
Yep.
That or it's someone's familiar. Who knows?
Could be. Mm-hmm.
Or both. The staff is someone's familiar.
I mean, I suppose we could try to stake out where people might have been getting the weed, but if it grows everywhere, then that's kind of
impossible to figure out.
Let's put it this way. It grows everywhere but here.
Around this place, because this is where the sheep are.
Yes. There was a concerted effort to make sure it was not growing here.
Right.
The concerted effort was described at the time, and I remember this clearly because of the name, as a scorched earth method of weed removal.
Did you assist?
Monty kicks an imaginary rock on the ground. No, I wasn't.
Oh,
They told you
Alright.
not to help.
They left it to the responsible pyromaniacs, is what I'm told.
what does that mean?
The ones who aren't immune to fire.
Okay.
I don't think that's exactly what makes them responsible.
Do wager that being immune to fire produces a slightly cavalier behavior, considering that my sibling is not immune to fire, only resistant, and has a cavalier behavior to fire already.
Look, I'm sorry. My pact gave me fireball, so
The burned fur smell is your problem.
Prestidigitation is a cantrip. Just saying.
Mm-hmm. There's probably there's probably several reasons why Cavill has it.
And many of them are Hobby's fault, I'm sure.
Mm-hmm.
Let's not bicker and argue about who gave who reason to cast prestidigitation. Monty
all I'm
considers your
saying is
question.
that if you're not willing to center a fireball on yourself in dire circumstances,
Why do you even have that spell?
That is a good question.
Okay, two things. First of all, the bard makes a good point. And second, I'm pretty sure I was always this cavalier.
All right. So, if I'm understanding things correctly, are we about to go out and burn a field of whatever this weed is?
no, I think we're getting distracted.
Ah,
What do you mean getting?
Well, we do seem to be rather low on things that we can investigate without causing diplomatic incidents.
At that moment, the door bursts open. This is not hard to do. Remember, Monty knocked it off the hinges before. It was propped up again. It bursts open and falls to the ground. And in walks a familiar bard. Jex.
Daldane? Jex! Not Daldane.
Not Daldane. Put them in the right spot. There we go. Jex is holding Jim the Kobold, who is one of the kobolds that controls one of the sheep, by the scruff of their shirt. Their little legs are dangling. Their feet don't quite touch the ground.
Oh dear, diplomatic incident.
What is the meaning of this? Jex tosses Jim to the ground. Jim's satchel spills open, and the floor is covered with tiny cocktail umbrellas.
how
Found
did you gather so many?
Hey, we've been playing for about an hour. What do you say we take a short break?
Yes.
I heard that laugh. It came over the mic. I don't think it came over the right person's mic. And that makes it better. Tonight's game, everyone who says sorry does not need to say sorry. This is gold. I'm going to pause the recording now.
Okay.
Okay, the recording is unpaused, and we're actually going to wrap it up here. This is a good cliffhanger moment, and we're tired. I'm in the middle of a move, so that's my secret cap. I'm always tired. And achy. I should have stretched before moving.
Oops.
Yeah.
Yes, lots of boxes, lots of books. So many books. Why did my parents instill upon me a love of literature? How dare they? Anyway, thank you everyone for listening. Thank you everyone for playing. And I was joined by a bunch of awesome people, including Beth, Ellie, Io, and Jen. And based on an off-camera conversation, now I'm stressing over how I pronounce Io. But never mind about that. I'll get over it.
No, it's fine. I do not have a preference unless you're the sort of person to start expressing a preference to me of how I should pronounce my name.
And
At
my
which point
stress,
my preference tends to become not that.
and my stress was when someone says, "Oh, it's okay, I don't have a preference." I'm like, "But which one?" Which is based on a totally different conversation that I'm not going to get into that involves no one here other than me. Yes, there's baggage there. But in any case, who wants to... Not bad baggage, but in any case, who wants to plug a thing?
Eo's mom writes books, elizabeth-mccoy.com. And ask your local library to check out my ebooks. They're very cheap for libraries, and you could get them through Overdrive and whatnot.
And speaking of books,
My website is Book of Jen. It's got a bunch of stuff on it. It's got some Diablo videos on it. You can also find them on YouTube, also at Book of Jen Original, because other people had that name. There's a lot of Jens out there, but mine is the original one. And there's that. Also, I'm the host of the Shattered Soulstone podcast, and also talking about a lot of Diablo 4 stuff lately. Current episode, which probably won't matter by the time you hear this, or maybe it will still be relevant, is not quite done yet due to technical reasons, so that'll be there when it can be, and you can find everything else at shatteredsoulstone.com.
And speaking of Patreons, which we weren't, but I'm bringing it in anyway. This is a wonderful segue that is incredibly well planned, and it's only made better by the fact that I'm calling attention to it.
Yep.
Anyway, you can help us keep the lights on by subscribing to our Patreon, patreon.com/cogwheelgaming. Join other illustrious patrons, including Chris, Ellie, Eric, Shen, Walter, and Patron Emeritus Cindy. And until next time, this is Crash saying, look, I know this looks bad, but really, I just like collecting little umbrellas and tiny little ladders and mirrors that may or may not all be in one piece. Good night, everybody.
Bye.